All right, Matthew 2, verses 1 and 2. After Jesus was born in Bethlehem in Judea during the time of King Herod, Magi from the east came to Jerusalem and asked, "Where is the one who was born King of the Jews? We saw his star in the east and have come to worship him." And like I told the kids, we'll be talking about the Magi, the kings, next week. But I want to talk about the star today. We've seen his star in the east. Now, exactly what that star was has baffled Bible scholars. It has intrigued astronomers trying to figure out for the last 2,000 years what exactly was that. What was that star that they saw? What did they see? How did they know that? How did they even think to look for something? And how did they know that it meant something special? How did they connect it with Israel? Now, one thing that we know from history is these wise men, these magi, these kings, whatever you want to call them, they're referred to in different ways. They were students of the sky. They studied the sky. And so to see something out of the ordinary, it would not frighten them. They would be interested to know what is it. They wouldn't be put off by it. And it was not uncommon in those days to associate the birth of a great ruler or somebody very special with some sort of celestial happening. So the star, as it's referred to in the Bible, or whatever it was, made perfect sense. They already believed that it would mean something special for someone special, okay? You might say that if God wanted to get a message to these men, he picked the perfect way to do it. He knew what they would be looking for. He knew they would understand it meant something. And so he put it in the sky so they could see it. But what was it? Now, there are all kinds of theories. I've narrowed it down to 4 I want to talk to you about today. The Greek word there is aster, and it's a very general word. It could refer to any kind of bright object in the sky. Now, if you've ever watched the show Ancient Aliens, they have... Okay? That's not one of the theories I'm going to talk about. Right? The word aster could refer to a star or a planet or a meteor or even a comet. And over the years, 4 main theories have emerged, and one was that it was Halley's Comet that they saw. But astronomers have calculated that the nearest appearance of Halley's Comet was in 11 BC, which was too early for the birth of Christ. And here's another thing about comets. The Bible says that the star went over where the child was and it stopped, and comets don't stop. So that theory's out. Another theory is that it's a supernova, which is an exploding star. It suddenly fills the sky, brilliant flash of light. It would have happened thousands or hundreds of thousands of years previously for the light to finally get to us. It's a very rare thing, and there's no record, astronomically speaking, of a supernova around the year that Christ was born. And again, a supernova would not move and then stop. Then there's the theory of conjunction of planets, and this is the most popular among astronomers. That in 7 BC, Jupiter, Mars, and Saturn came together in what is known as a very rare conjunction. It occurs only once every 125 years. Or another possibility is the conjunction of Jupiter and Venus in 2 BC. That would explain why the Magi saw it and the people of Israel did not. Conjunctions don't attract attention of people who aren't watching the skies. Okay? They aren't highly visible. You have to be studying the skies. They don't suddenly appear like a meteor shower or a comet or a supernova. But anybody who watches the skies regularly would notice a triangular conjunction of the planets like what happened in 7 BC. And then the 4th theory, and this is the one that I'm going to tell you I would like you to buy into. A supernatural light. Not planets, not a supernova, not a comet. A light placed by God, especially for these men to see and to follow. Now, people who believe this, like I said, which I do, compare it to the Shekinah glory of God that talks about in the Old Testament. God reveals himself to his people as a bright light in order to guide them. Remember when he was leading the Israelites out of Egypt. Light, pillar of light by night, pillar of smoke by day. Now the truth is, we don't really know. Okay? We don't know what that star, that aster was. And that star by itself, just seeing something alone, that would not tell the Magi that it was something special, that it was for someone special. They had to know that they were looking for something. They had to be studied up. They had to know enough to come to Bethlehem to seek the baby born of the Jews. Just having something appear in the sky doesn't tell them that. So how did they know that that star meant anything at all? Well, I'm going to give you a little history lesson, okay? Jews and Persians had been intermingling for at least 500 years. They considered Daniel, who was a good Jew, as one of their own. And since the time of Daniel, the Persians had known of the Jewish expectation of a Messiah. It's possible they even knew from Daniel's prophecy in Daniel chapter 9, his prophecy of the 70 weeks, the approximate time that this star would appear or that this king would be born. Well, they didn't know the exact day, exact time. They knew that when they saw that, what I believe to be a supernatural light that God put in the sky, they knew that the time had come. I want to give you a little more evidence so that you don't think this is just speculation. Everything we know about the Jews, the Magi, and the history of ancient Near East makes this story very likely. The Jews were looking for a Messiah. The Magi looked to the stars for guidance. The Jews and the Magi had been intermingling for at least 500 years. And we know the Magi, since they were students of the sky, would notice any new sign. So it's not a surprise that they would travel to Jerusalem to see the new Jewish king. Matthew chapter 2, the account that Matthew gave us, fits perfectly with the things that we do know. Now here's what I want you to hear. If you've already tuned me out, come back in. They got the message and saw the sign because they were looking. If you want a sign from God, you've got to look. If you're expecting Jesus to come, he will. And you need to be ready when he gives you your sign. Because it might lead you from home. It might lead you into danger. I was led to Christ by some stars in my life. Pastors, Sunday school teachers, other people in the church who prayed for me. I wasn't being taught anything about following Christ at home. So God used these people to bring me to Jesus. That result led me 210 miles from home to Roberts Wesleyan College. After that, to live in Meadville, Pennsylvania, a place that I said all the while I was in college and traveling Route 90 and Route 79 back home to Elwood City. If it wasn't snowing anyplace else, it was always snowing in Meadville in the winter. And I would drive up and down that road and I would say out loud, I am never going to live in Meadville, Pennsylvania. I got 3 speeding tickets while I was in college, traveling back and forth. All 3 of those speeding tickets were issued to me by a state trooper out of the barracks in Meadville, Pennsylvania. I said, I am never going to live in Meadville, Pennsylvania. Then I get a phone call, my senior year of college, from the conference superintendent of what was then the Oil City Conference. And guess what he said to me? John, we're ready to assign you to a church when you graduate. You're going to be the pastor of the Free Methodist Church in Meadville, Pennsylvania, where we lived for 7 years and had all 3 of our children. Then we went to DuBois. Then we went to Lockport. And in Lockport, I received a phone call from one of the older fellows in the church who told me he was going to shoot me. Following Jesus might lead you into danger. Now, this man was old enough to be my father, maybe my grandfather, but he had somehow, in his beginning of his dementia, come to the conclusion that his wife and I were having an affair. And so he called me and said, if I ever catch you together, I will shoot you. I had an official board meeting, and I told the folks of the official board in Lockport, if you ever come to church and find me, I used to go to the church and work in the office. If you ever come to the church and find me dead here in the church, Nick Confer did it. Because he threatened to kill me. Now, there have been many other fun things that have happened, good and bad, in all the years, me following Jesus, wherever he leads me. He led me here in 1993. Many things too numerous to mention. But I'm continuing to follow him wherever he leads me. And I want to ask you the question, will you do that? Will you look for the stars in your life who are trying to lead you to Jesus, and will you follow them, knowing it might take you into places you don't want to be? It might take you far away from home. It might take you into places that are dangerous. But will you follow? In Jeremiah 29:13, it says this, you will seek me and find me when you seek me with all your heart. A lot of people who don't find Christ don't find him because they're haphazardly searching. They're hoping that God will hit them across the head with a 2x4 to get their attention, instead of looking for a star to lead them. Now, let me just remind you, so that you don't think it's too crazy, that God would use a supernatural light, a supernatural star, a supernatural aster to lead the wise men to Christ. Let me remind you of a few other supernatural things that don't make sense that God has done. In Genesis chapter 9, we're told that he put a rainbow in the sky as a promise to never destroy the earth by flood. Through the wilderness journey, he led the people of Israel with a pillar of cloud by day and a pillar of fire by night. I mentioned that already. In a war against the Amorites in Joshua chapter 10, he caused the sun to stand still and the moon to stop in order to give Joshua time to win the battle. And this is what the scripture says. The sun stayed in the midst of the sky and didn't hurry to go down about a whole day. And then from Job chapter 9, we have Job saying this. How can a man be just with God? He commands the sun and it doesn't rise. He seals up the stars. He alone stretches out the heavens and treads on the waves of the sea. He makes the bear, Orion, and the Pleiades, and the runes of the south. He does great things past finding out. Yes, marvelous things without number. I have absolutely no problem at all believing that God would put something special out of the ordinary. It never happened before, just to lead these men to Jesus, and they saw it because they were looking. And they were looking because they knew the scriptures, because of Daniel's association with them. You know it. You understand it. But you got to read it. Right. Lord, I thank you for the stars in our life to lead us to Jesus. Help us to follow, because we're looking for you with all of our hearts, with the assurance that we will find you.